1 minute ago, FBI confirms arrest warrant for J.Lo. Marc Anthony released evidence of staged murder. June 10, 2025. Federal Courthouse, Washington, D.C. The courtroom buzzed with tension as Marc Anthony entered, flanked by 2 federal agents. For years he had remained silent. Now, under oath, he was ready to speak. He was thinner, older, but his voice held fire. "I didn't come here to take revenge," he began, eyes steady. "I came here because I survived something I wasn't supposed to." Gasps echoed across the room. "In 2012, during a concert in Panama, I fell down a flight of stairs backstage. The official report said it was an accident, but it wasn't." He paused. "They tried to kill me." Camera shutters clicked. The judge called for silence. Marc continued. "At the time, I was married to Jennifer Lopez. She and I had been going through a rough patch. But what I didn't know then was she had already reconnected with Sean Combs. Diddy." The room frozen. "I later found out about the affair, and what scared me most was how quickly things changed. I went from husband to liability." Marc described the night of the fall in vivid detail, a shadowy figure near the stairwell, missing footage from the venue's security cameras, and strange messages on J.Lo's burner phone he discovered weeks later. "They planned it. I was supposed to fall, break my back, and disappear quietly. I didn't." He held up a small envelope. "This is a copy of the threatening email I received afterward. Sent from a masked server, the signature BH." A murmur spread. BH again. The ghost initials had already surfaced in connection with Diddy's blackmail ring. The prosecution took over. "Mr. Anthony, can you confirm your wife at the time, Ms. Jennifer Lopez, had knowledge of these plans?" Marc hesitated. "She didn't stop, and she benefited from my silence." Court records then displayed Marc's signed affidavit, detailed logs, flight manifests, encrypted messages, and names. "Did you ever confront her?" the prosecutor asked. "Yes. In 2013, right before the divorce. I asked if she ever loved me. Her answer, 'You were safe, but not forever.'" In the gallery, a reporter whispered into her phone, "He just flipped the whole case." Marc's next revelation stunned even the judge. There was a contract between J.Lo and Diddy, not for business but for silence. "I found it in her drawer. It was signed in 2009, renewed in 2011. He passed it to the clerk. The clause, "Neither party shall disclose shared knowledge or involvement in executive-level engagements or risk nullifying all pre-agreed settlements." "That's not a prenup," Marc said. "That's a cover-up." He turned to the defense. "I'm not the only one. Ben Affleck divorced her for the same reason. He found out about the tapes. He saw the real J.Lo." The defense objected. The judge overruled. "Mr. Anthony, why come forward now?" "Because I saw the names on that list. Cassie, Kim, Misha, Chloe, and I saw who's missing." He looked directly at the press. "I'm not afraid anymore." June 5, 2025. Federal Courthouse, New York City. The courtroom was tense. News of Marc Anthony's shocking testimony had gone viral overnight. Security doubled. A swarm of media blanketed the streets. Inside, Marc sat under oath, flanked by U.S. Marshals shielded behind bulletproof glass. "Mr. Anthony, please confirm you're stating under oath that you believe Jennifer Lopez and Sean Combs colluded in an attempt on your life." Marc's eyes didn't waver. "Yes. They tried to silence me. I saw too much. I knew too much." Gasps echoed across the gallery. The prosecution team displayed the photograph, Marc backstage in Panama, crumpled at the foot of the service stairwell. A broken railing, blood on the concrete. "Who was in the building that day?" asked prosecutor Nia Morales. Marc answered, voice measured. "Diddy's security, and J.Lo. She had no reason to be there. It wasn't her tour." The surveillance video had been erased, but new digital forensics recovered backup metadata from a technician's Dropbox folder. Time-stamped 45 minutes before the fall. J.Lo and Diddy, together, entering Marc's dressing room. A grim hush settled over the room. The moment I woke up in the hospital, I knew. It wasn't an accident, Mark whispered. Flashback transcripts from Diddy's burner phone revealed cryptic messages. M is drifting. Tie the ends before he spills. The fall has to look clean, like the Kim situation. Who's Kim? The judge asked. Kim Porter, Mark replied. She died in 2018. They said pneumonia. But she had files. She knew about the tapes. The courtroom shifted. Mia, the whistleblower in the original Diddy trafficking case, sat in the audience. Her hand gripped Cassie's. They knew. They had seen the parties, the control, the erasure. Morales presented an encrypted drive labeled M.A. Vault, obtained from Mark's attorney. Inside emails, audio logs, photos, proof J.Lo attended Diddy's synchronization retreats, even while publicly distancing herself from him. A grainy image recovered from a 2001 Palm Pilot. J.Lo, seated beside Diddy, smiling, her hand on his knee. Date stamped 3 days after her wedding to Mark. The courtroom murmured. This was never about love, Mark said. She was embedded, in too deep, and I was in the way. Why now, Mr. Anthony? He exhaled. Because I was tired of looking over my shoulder, and because of Ben. Ben Affleck's name hit the room like a thunderclap. Mark explained Ben divorced her days after Diddy's house was raided. That wasn't a coincidence. He saw something. A sealed affidavit from Affleck's legal team confirmed client withdrew from marriage after discovery of undisclosed past involving Combs and illegal recordings. The defense objected. Hearsay. Overruled, the judge barked. Courtroom artist sketches captured Mark's steady posture. A man who'd held silence too long, now spilling the truth. J.Lo's attorney released a statement outside. Ms. Lopez has no involvement in any of these accusations. Mr. Anthony's testimony is an attempt to settle old scores, but inside, the air was shifting, the timeline aligned. So did the secrets. Cassie took the stand again. Her voice didn't tremble this time. Yes, I saw J.Lo at multiple freak-off events, she said. She wasn't a victim, she was a handler. The phrase struck like lightning. Cassie continued. She was recruited, she facilitated it, she silenced. Chloe's files were unsealed. One contained a handwritten ledger, initials, dates, dollar figures. Next to JL was a payment, $3, $2 million. Memo Q4 coverage, Brazil. Brazil was the code name for Diddy's offshore server cluster, where blackmail videos were stored. Mark's final submission that day, a voicemail from J.Lo, 2 weeks after his injury. You're lucky it wasn't worse. Just walk away, Mark. You still have your voice. He looked at the judge, but not anymore. I'm done walking. Court adjourned for the day, but the headlines didn't sleep. Marc Anthony accuses J.Lo of attempted murder in federal court synchronization tapes. The A-list blackmail plot unravels. Outside, a banner fluttered, Truth Doesn't Need a Melody. June 6, 2025. Congressional Oversight Office, Washington, D.C. At precisely 9:00 a.m., a sealed dossier was hand-delivered to the Federal Inquiry Panel overseeing the Diddy proceedings. Inside, a sworn affidavit from actor and director Ben Affleck. The document had been under protective review for weeks, but now its contents would ripple across the country. In it, Affleck stated plainly, I ended my marriage with Jennifer Lopez after discovering evidence of her continued involvement with Sean Combs, romantic and operational throughout our marriage. He went further. She admitted during a private conversation that she was at Diddy's Star Island residence weeks before his federal raid. She called it a business trip, but she had lied. Inside the courtroom, the judge authorized partial reading of the testimony. The gallery leaned in as each word landed like a hammer. Ben detailed one specific event, a dinner in early 2024, where J.Lo, after 2 glasses of wine, became agitated when asked about her relationship with Combs. Affleck described her as shaking, guarded, evasive. She told me I didn't need to know the truth. If I did, I'd become a target too. Marc Anthony, seated in court, remained stoic, but his eyes met those of Cassie across the room. The truth was threading its way forward. Then came the clip, recovered from J.Lo's personal assistant's broken iPhone. Forensic experts restored a 6-second voice memo marked "Do Not Play." It was J.Lo's voice. "We can't let him talk. Mark is too close to the vault." Diddy said, "Neutralize." Gasps echoed. The judge paused proceedings. Emergency security protocols were activated. A federal marshal escorted Cassie out. Mark remained under surveillance. In a press briefing, Prosecutor Morales revealed an encrypted document found on a drive labeled Vault R44. It contained email threads between J.Lo, Diddy, and executives from an LA-based PR firm. The subject line, "Narrative Fracture Strategy." The objective: discredit Marc Anthony before he could speak. Affleck's affidavit continued. She confessed that what happened in Panama wasn't an accident. She said the fall was supposed to be cleaner, that they rushed it. The gallery fell silent. From the audience, a former J.Lo bodyguard raised his hand to testify. Under oath, he corroborated the statement. "There was a meeting just before Mark's fall. I heard J.Lo say, 'This ends tonight. He sings, we burn.'" He handed over a recording from a hotel elevator in Panama City. The voice was clear. J.Lo's. Inside the clip, Mark's cracked. "If he talks, it all comes out. Everything Brazil, the freak-off's the hill. Shut him down." Mark's lawyer submitted an urgent motion for permanent federal protection. It was granted. The next witness was called a tech contractor from Epic Records. He opened with this: "Diddy and J.Lo's data sharing included more than music. It was surveillance. They pooled everything: emails, calls, party footage. She wasn't just aware, she was an admin." He presented login records. J.Lo accessed Diddy's offshore server 14 times in 2022, 7 times in 2023, once the night before the raid. Cassie returned to the stand. J.Lo wasn't a victim, she was the firewall, the fixer. Mia backed it up. And if anything went wrong, she had one job: contain the leak. By day's end, a journalist from El País released an intercepted memo: Q44 protocol review. JL is unstable. If Mark flips, redirect the public angle. Target Affleck's rehab past. The smear campaign had already begun, but the damage was done. Across TikTok, X, and Instagram, a single phrase trended worldwide. "She knew everything outside the courthouse." A protester held up a placard, "From Selena to silence the price of the spotlight." June 7, 2025. Confidential session, Judiciary Subcommittee Room 4C. With Ben Affleck's affidavit still echoing across media cycles, the court entered closed session to examine new classified submissions. At the heart of this session, a USB drive labeled Vault Brazil, extracted from the seized laptop of Diddy's former chief of staff. Marc Anthony, now under full-time federal protection, was escorted in through a service elevator. His face was worn but resolute. First, the contents of Vault Brazil. Inside were archived financial statements, encrypted communications, and a list of pseudonym-labeled video files. The file named JLB1 2000 was first opened. A silent video played. The courtroom watched as Jennifer Lopez, clearly younger, walked into a hotel suite. She shook hands with a man later identified as a Brazilian government contractor with direct ties to narcotics financing. Diddy entered moments later. Marc Anthony's voice broke the silence. "That's São Paulo. I was told she was in New York that weekend. That's when I knew." He turned to the judge. "There's more. There's always been more." He asked to submit a recording. It was a call between himself and J.Lo from 2016, 3 years before their public reunion. "They'll make it look like a freak accident," J.Lo whispered. "Like Kim worse. If you keep digging, they'll send handlers. You're not bulletproof, Mark." In that instant, the courtroom shifted. The term handler activated a cross-agency alert. Agents from Interpol, DEA, and Homeland Security took notes simultaneously. The next witness was a mid-level operative from the Department of Justice's Witness Surveillance Unit. He brought a redacted document titled Project Semaphore. The document mapped a handler list operatives trained to monitor, intercept, or if necessary, contain persons of interest tied to the Diddy network. On that list, Cassie Mia Kim Porter, deceased, and Marc Anthony, handler code 7, assigned to target Marc Anthony. That handler was identified, a former talent liaison for Epic Records turned government informant. He confessed, "My assignment was simple. Ensure Marc never connected the dots. If he did initiate PR discreditation followed by planned isolation." The judge asked, was Lopez aware? He nodded. She coordinated the silence campaign, called it containment by charm. Outside news outlets began publishing simultaneous exposés. Le Monde, Der Spiegel, El País. A major leak revealed Diddy and J.Lo operated through shell firms in Belize, Brazil, and Luxembourg to traffic not just talent but political favors, surveillance data, and funds to super PACs. Cassie took the stand again, trembling. There was a ledger. It wasn't just music or drugs. It was the judges, senators, even federal prosecutors. The court ordered a recess. In that time, 3 more whistleblowers came forward. One, a data analyst from Diddy's inner circle, submitted emails dated October 2023. Subject: MA must not flip body initiate. Step 3. If needed, the Brazil option is still viable. Marc Anthony looked straight into the lens of the courtroom cam feed. They tried to erase me, but I kept receipts. This isn't just about Diddy. This is about how power protects itself. At 3:45 p.m., the courtroom heard a final message taken from a burner phone found in a Miami safe house. A voice, unverified but familiar, said, "If Affleck confirms what we all suspect, we pivot. Leak the tapes from '99. Marc gets painted as a jealous ex. Standard playbook." The judge issued a full freeze on all assets related to Vault Brazil. Arrest warrants were prepared for 2 PR execs and 1 former campaign manager with connections to 2024 PAC funding. That night on Capitol Hill, Senator Kay Graham called for an emergency ethics investigation. We are staring into a nexus of celebrity influence and institutional corruption. It ends now. Outside the courthouse, Marc Anthony addressed the crowd. I stayed silent to protect my children, but they went after me anyway. So now I speak for Kim, for Cassie, for every name on that list. A chant broke out. End the handlers. No more silence. Marc stood up. June 10, 2025. U.S. Capitol Building. Joint Oversight Committee emergency session. A storm was brewing on the Hill. Not the meteorological kind, but the kind that reshapes political landscapes. In room 2154 of the Rayburn House office building, 12 members of Congress convened in a hastily assembled emergency oversight session. The agenda assessed the integrity of high-ranking officials implicated by revelations from Vault Brazil. At 8:47 a.m., Marc Anthony, escorted by 2 federal marshals, took his seat as a surprise reappearance. His presence was unannounced. Chairwoman Judith Ramos, flanked by Senator Kay Graham, struck the gavel. "Mr. Anthony, are you prepared to submit under oath the remainder of your evidence?" Marc nodded, sliding forward a flash drive marked Capitol Flowchart. The screen flickered. It revealed a flowchart of names, PAC transfers, and encrypted file links. All roads traced back to 3 primary nodes, Diddy, Jennifer Lopez, and committee chair Greg Talbot RTX. Gasps filled the chamber. The documents traced over 22 million routed from shell corporations in Belize and São Paulo to PACs aligned with Talbot's 2024 re-election campaign. One document showed transfer date, Sept. 12/2023. Source LX Enterprises Luxembourg. Recipient Restore the Dream, Passy, affiliated with Talbot. Talbot turned pale. "This is a smear, unverified foreign documents," he barked. But then came the voice recording. Jennifer Lopez on a tapped call with Diddy. If Talbot keeps the committee off our backs, the next 2 quarters are covered. I already had Mark boxed in. He won't speak. Mark looked directly at Talbot. But I did. And now you answer to the public. Meanwhile, another shock. Affleck's sealed affidavit was unsealed by court order. In it, he described a 2015 incident at a private island event hosted by J.Lo and Diddy. He stated, I overheard Jennifer discussing Mark. She said, he's old news. If he talks, we've got clips from Sao Paulo. That'll finish him. No. Capitol Police reinforced the building by noon. Protests erupted outside. Purge the Pack trended nationwide. The next witness, DOJ Special Investigator Carla Yuen, displayed the findings of Project Semaphore's Capitol thread. At least 9 current and former government officials appear to have been compromised by what we call influence laundering. Using celebrity-operated shell entities, they received campaign donations, personal favors, and, in some cases, blackmail leverage. Among those named Representative Greg Talbot RTX, Senator Morgan Lang, DNY, former White House comms director, D. Raines. J.Lo's legal team responded with a press release at 3:13 p.m. Ms. Lopez denies all involvement in financial misconduct or coercion. Mr. Anthony's testimony is a baseless narrative rooted in personal grievances. But then the courtroom played another clip. Diddy's voice, sarcastic and cold. Send Talbot the jet. Remind him Sao Paulo has copies. He stays loyal, or we drop the Affleck audio. The final blow came with a notarized memo from a whistleblower at Restore the Dream PACs, confirming receipt of off-the-record funds linked to Project Coverglass, a code name tied to Vault Brazil. Chairwoman Ramos concluded, this is no longer about celebrity scandals. This is systemic. This committee is moving forward with subpoenas, asset freezes, and a referral to the Attorney General for a full-scale corruption probe. Marc Anthony, rising one last time, stated, you tried to bury me. Instead, I became the fault line. Outside, the crowd had grown tenfold. Chants echoed against Capitol walls, drain the showbiz swamp, no more vaults, no more handlers, and scrawled across protest signs in bold paint, Mark wasn't silenced. Neither will we be. June 12, 2025. Washington, D.C., Federal Courthouse. Outside the courthouse, thousands gathered, pressing against barricades. Reporters, activists, ex-staffers, and curious citizens all waiting for the trial's finale. Inside courtroom 204C was packed beyond capacity. The Marc Anthony vs. United States government corruption testimony had become the epicenter of a national reckoning. The session began with a stunning development. Marc Anthony was granted whistleblower immunity by federal prosecutors. He took the stand no longer fearful, his tone firm, his voice unwavering. This isn't revenge, this is repair, and if it begins with me, so be it. Mark's team introduced the most explosive piece of evidence yet, a decrypted surveillance video from a villa outside Sao Paulo, dated October 2018. The footage showed a gathering of top figures, including Diddy, Jennifer Lopez, and 3 known lobbyists linked to Restore the Dream PAC. Hidden mics captured Jennifer's voice, Mark's soft. He'll fold eventually, or we'll fold him. The courtroom fell silent. Then came the damning line, spoken by Diddy, the hill has ears, but we own the stairs. Prosecutors revealed this was not metaphorical. Surveillance confirmed tampering with the stage stairs during Mark's 2019 fall in Panama, a coordinated act of silencing, as termed by the DOJ's Carla Yuen. Within 48 hours of Part 5's revelations, 5 members of Congress stepped down amid ethics investigations. Representative Greg Talbot was placed under federal arrest. His assets were frozen, his digital devices confiscated. Ben Affleck, now cooperating with investigators, submitted a detailed deposition. In it, he described Jennifer's increasingly paranoid behavior before their divorce and referenced late-night rants about Mark having too much in his head. She was worried not about the public, But about what Marc would say in court, there was fear. Jennifer Lopez's team claimed she was in Bali for a wellness retreat, but evidence showed she left the U.S. on a private Gulf stream registered to a Cayman Islands holding company owned by one of Diddy's entities. Interpol was contacted. A red notice was issued. U.S. Marshals confirmed they were working with international authorities to locate and detain her. Ms. Lopez is not above the law, said A.G. Frazier at a press briefing. She is now a person of interest in multiple federal investigations. By June 14, 2025, Vault Brazil trended globally. Protesters outside the Capitol remained overnight, calling for the impeachment of additional lawmakers named in Project Semaphore. The president issued a televised statement. This is no longer about celebrities. It's about power and how it warps justice. We will pursue this wherever it leads. A bipartisan emergency ethics panel was formed. Federal subpoenas increased by 600%. Investigative journalists released exposés revealing how influence laundering worked across party lines for decades. Inspired by Marc Anthony's bravery, a new piece of legislation was introduced, the Whistleblower Integrity and Security Act. It provided advanced federal protections for celebrity whistleblowers and political informants, granting emergency relocation, legal aid, and sealed court proceedings when necessary. Marc Anthony, now a national figurehead for transparency, took no political party's side. He addressed the nation via public broadcast. I was married into silence, threatened into obedience. I was supposed to fall and never rise, but here I am, here we are. In the closing moments of the trial, DOJ's Carla Ewan introduced an encrypted document recovered from Vault Brazil Operation Shattering, a covert agreement between entertainment moguls and key U.S. officials dating back to 2004. It outlined methods to influence elections through social campaigns, celebrity endorsements, and financial engineering. Attached was a scanned signature Jennifer Lopez, Diddy, Greg Talbot. All three were verified by forensic analysis. Jennifer Lopez was detained in Singapore on June 20th. She was extradited to the U.S. on June 23rd, under heavy federal escort. Her arraignment is scheduled for July 1st, 2025. Diddy remains in custody, facing 17 federal counts. Marc Anthony has declined all interviews since the trial's conclusion. His only public act, a handwritten statement posted to the DOJ website. I sang for years, now I've spoken. May the silence never return. In the streets of America, trust remained fractured, but hope flickered anew. Across the Capitol steps, graffiti read, "Not just a pop star, a patriot."